I'm your host, Christine Chen. Happy New Year again. A new year can invite us to dive deeply into unknown waters. And so we're sharing another morning with our beloved director of healing arts and somatics, Douglas Drummond. Well, on top of being a movement instructor, fantastic one, by the way, he's also a deep diver with a pretty serious breath practice that slows his heart rate, helps him sustain focus. This is all so important as we navigate new intentions and goals ahead of the new year. I'm going to ask him about this beautiful picture in just a second as we welcome Douglas Drummond. Hi, Douglas.
Hi, Christine. Hi, Esalen crew. Nice to see you all. Thanks for
Nice
having
to
me
see
here
you.
again.
Of course, nice to have you back. We're still shut down on
Mhm.
property at Esalen and still mindful of the county and the state rules, but you're there making sure everything's steady and alive so that when people come back, they come back to the Esalen that they know and love. Tell us about this picture, Douglas. I'm so curious. How'd you become a deep diver?
Mhm. Yeah, well, I was born and raised on the ocean, so always had a close affinity there. And that picture was taken in Bimini in the Bahamas. My wife and I, we've for the last 10 years taken groups out there to teach. We teach 5 rhythms, and then in the mornings, and then the afternoon, we free dive with some wild dolphin pods out in Bimini. And that photo
So,
was taken on a really special afternoon.
so that was literally just your afternoon swim.
It was the afternoon swim for sure. And the dolphins are this incredible sort of mirror, in the way in their playfulness, and they've got this sort of quite anthropomorphic type of features. So they're a beautiful reflection for us. So we do some beautiful somatics practices in the mornings, and then we spend our afternoons connecting with them.
Deep diving is a special kind of breathing. Can you let us in on that a little bit? How do you have to breathe when you're underwater like that?
Well, as you know, you can't breathe underwater, right? When you're doing the free diving,
Oh,
and when we're talking about free diving, not necessarily like deep diving. And the interesting part with the free diving is that almost 80-90% of the practice itself is done above the water, like preparing the body. So it's not necessarily like the test of like how long you hold the breath for. It's just more how focused and how present you can be before in preparation for your dive. Yeah.
okay. So, Douglas, just to be clear, and I'm sorry if I misunderstood, deep diving is different than what we're seeing you do here, which is free diving?
So yeah, so this is
Okay.
like a free diving, so without any apparatus, with the exception of wearing fins and things like that. And so, but you can certainly do some pretty deep free dives, and that dive there is probably in about maybe like 50, 60 feet of water. But I would say comparatively to the professionals out there, somewhat of a novice, but I can get down there pretty deep and I have a good time.
And what is the breath technique that prepares you to go deep?
hmm Well, there's quite a few like approaches to it, and a lot of the yogic breath practices, can really like acclimatize or get your body prepared for it. But in a sense, you're kind of like trying to like you're packing kind of oxygen in the body. But for me, my approach instead of like trying to really load the body up with breath is just to really try and find a way to kind of calm down and relax the body as much as possible before going down.
Right. So when you say yoga breath or this kind of preparatory breath to go deep, it is that deep, slow breathing that we just practice when we try to engage with our own practice at home or in a studio or in an online class. Is it very similar?
Yeah, yeah, no, it's just absolutely, like calming the body, calming the mind, just really easing up, the less movement that you have once you're diving and being underwater. So the more calm and still you can be, and like calm and still certainly in the body and in the mind, the longer and deeper and the longer you can hold your breath you can go. So there's a lot of references there. Yeah.
And we hear a lot about diaphragmatic breathing. Can you describe that and how do we know that we're doing that?
hmm Well, I think it's just like feeling the rise and fall of the diaphragm like that. And I think the diaphragm can just also just be like symbolic of the rise and fall in the breath. That's for me, like, I love the anatomy. I'm not the anatomy specialist. So much of my understanding of that too is just like symbolic, certainly like just the rise and fall and like that expanse and contract. That's what I really sort of focus on when I feel like the diaphragm in the body, when I'm breathing in and out like that, to kind of calm the mind and ease the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Douglas, I keep looking at this picture. It's mesmerizing of you with the dolphins and down there. Take us through a little bit of a journey, if you would. Like what happens? I know that you have a pretty deep practice. So what happens above the surface before you go there? Because this is sort of like metaphoric, I think, in a lot of ways, which is we're diving deeply into unknown territory globally as a society, but also people have things they want to dive into in a new year. Like we have to do the prep and then we can dive deeply. But that prep is so important. Tell us what's happening above the surface before you dive in.
Yeah, yeah. For me, I mean, I think for me that what really kind of caused my heart to race or to kind of feel that unease is just noticing, what that stillness and that peace in the body, and just kind of allowing and receiving and relaxing, and just really that the theme of like receptivity. What are we really breathing in when we take a breath in? What are we noticing that's coming up in the body? What is the presence that we truly are, and do we have an opportunity to release and let it go? So for me, it's like that presence-based awareness of absolute receptivity and being unconditional with what is, no matter how uncomfortable, discomfort, all of it, just allowing all of it to kind of come flooding in, allowing it to be present in the body, and then just allowing all of it to release and let go.
Mm. Would you take us through a little bit of that? Let us experience that
Yeah.
with you. I think this is your favorite free dive meditation, if I'm correct. The one we're going to
Yeah, absolutely.
experience.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Take it
absolutely.
away,
Yeah.
Douglas. Take it away.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Thank you. Well, you can either eyes open or eyes closed, and just feel your body, on the ground wherever it touches it. Like for me, I'm on my stool, and sitting. If you're lying down, however you feel comfortable, and eyes open or closed, and just start noticing, just with your inhalation, taking a breath in, unconditional, and nice, easy exhale, not holding on at all, just letting go. So just a couple of rounds of breath, just pure inhale and exhale. Notice the sensation in the body. What does it feel like to inhale that expand? And exhale, gently, like sinking in, like just a releasing as you exhale. Beautiful. And this time take an inhalation and just pause at the top and just hold it for a moment. And then relax the belly, exhale. So play a couple of rounds of breath, inhaling, pause, and exhale. Beautiful. And as you inhale, notice what's arising, what is coming up, if anything, a thought, a sensation. And as you pause, what is present, what stays with you? And as you exhale, what are you releasing and letting go? So it's an inhalation, what is rising? As you pause, what is present? And as you exhale, what is releasing? What is going away? And keep going through that sort of three-part breath. And like a dive, you're just imagining, like, as you inhale, what's coming up? What could be at the surface? What really sinks at the top of your surface of your thoughts? And as you pause, as you're present, what stays? What sticks around? What hangs around? And as you exhale, what is naturally just releasing and letting go? And you can choose how shallow or how deep your intention or how deep your dive, into the sensation you'd like to go. I think for us, or for me right now at Esalen, like learning about our shelter in place and so forth, that for me is quite a deep dive, what that means for me and my time spent with our family and our community and our work. It's a deep dive, the impact. And when I pause, when I'm present with what is really true for me, what is a true reflection for me. And as I exhale, what am I releasing? What am I letting go of? Perhaps what's no longer serving me. Perhaps what's naturally just needs a way out. How do I open up a pathway or a channel, an opportunity to release and let go of something? So just try that again. Inhale, just noticing what's arising, what's kind of coming up to the surface. As you're pausing, noticing what's truly present, what maintains, what's consistent. And as you exhale, what is receding, what is going a little deeper, what is letting go. And then just gently coming back, just a real easy inhale. And a nice, easy, surrendered exhale. And just going back to a natural breath. And then gently rubbing your fingers together, just feeling your toes. If your eyes are closed, you can gently open them.
Thank you so much, Douglas. Appreciate you sharing that. What do you
Yeah.
think is, I always feel like when I meditate with you or myself or in any sort of forum or situation that like my voice drops, the breath
Mm-hmm.
lengthens, right? And as we chat about in yoga all the time about how the suspension on the inhale, the suspension on the exhale, antara and vaya kumbhaka, that these are places in suspension, almost like when you're deeply diving in the waters, where you get
Mm.
really quiet. Do you feel that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel just a little time stop now, even in this medium of, speaking an interview to you and this digital plane like that, just amazing. Even just arriving before starting. For me, it's a busyness, there's a speediness, intensity, and then I'm just really calibrating to like my own natural rhythm, and just really noticing that calm. And for me, that's always indicative of like what we call in our Esalen massage practice too, the present pause. How do we take those moments of present pause?
Hmm.
Just like we're taking now, for me, I feel like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So these suspensive moments in breath gives us a moment to practice pause, which we're on one big pause right now if we think about it, but life is still moving. Why do we need to practice, or why can we learn to practice this type of breath, and how would it serve us in real life every single day during this pandemic or otherwise?
Yeah. Well, I think, for me and perhaps others I speak to too, there's that intensity and that compression. And then so just being present and slowing down and just, opening up our senses, open up your peripheral, and being observing. I think last time we connected together, it was that mantra of, you are enough, you are enough. And for me, that's something of a real perspective, when I'm in that calm space, when I'm opening up that, I'm permitting myself to be in the space of there is a pause, but how present can I be? And I guess the sharing with that one is just, the present pause. How present can you be in this moment where there is a lot of opportunity to, is it the fight or flight, and to take cover, but just being present for ourselves, being present in our families and our relationships, and being present in our community.
Yeah. Well, whether it's a deep dive or a deep dive into your breath, how have you seen this at this time, like really play out in your life? Like, how often do
Mm.
you draw on it? Do you practice it every day? Like, how can we learn to integrate this in a more realistic way into our lives?
Yeah. Well, I think the more intense the situation, for me, I describe it as, we're coming in hot, is the deeper the dive, and the deeper down you go, the cooler, the water temperature is quite often. And so for me, it's whenever it gets that hot intensity like that, this is when I kind of come back to like my sensory awareness, what I know about my deep diving and just taking those deep ones and going down deep and just and being cool, inviting a cool sense. And so, yeah, I mean, certainly the family is the pressure cooker. Being in our beautiful cabin in Big Sur is just splendid and wonderful. But with our shelter in place, there's a lot of compression. So I take those moments, just to kind of take a deep dive. What calms me down, so I can be present for them, and in turn be present for my community and for my colleagues at work.
Yeah, it is definitely part of the practice to say, how can I do what serves me so I can serve others? That's like something we talk about all the time. Joyce, by the
Yeah,
way, says, thanks for sharing the dolphins. And Sarah says, beautiful. Thank you. So appreciate your time today and helping us understand this a little bit more.
yeah.
Anything else you want to add, Douglas, about what's happening at Esalen and how we can continue to keep practicing and keep being present before we can actually come back to property?
Yeah, well, two pieces there, I guess. With that practice too, and with the present, the awareness of the deep dive is to be really unconditional. One of the safety features or one of the components when you're free diving too is that if you don't feel great when you're on your way down, that it's okay to come up to the surface again. And I think that's a really powerful analogy. That even if we're wanting to go deep and you don't quite get there, then just come back up for air. Come back up for air as much as you need. And keep yourself safe in that way. And for Esalen, we're just going to stay present, through the shelter in place. We've got lots of amazing opportunities, but staying present, and reacting positively and groundedness, amongst our colleagues and our wider Esalen community and so forth, unconditionally. That's a beautiful gift, and we're doing our best to do that.
Yeah. I love that you said that you could just dive in a little bit and just check in with how you feel, and that it's
Yeah.
okay to come back to the surface. That's a really powerful statement, Douglas, and I
Yeah.
hope it helps a lot of people.
Well, thanks. Nice diving with you all, and thanks, Christine, for your time as always. And hi to
Yes,
everyone. Be safe and much love.
absolutely. Yes, stay connected with us at esalen.org. You can also stay connected with us here on Facebook and also Instagram at Esalen. Have a great day, everybody.